You wake up, gangster. Ah, look at me. I'm hideous.
Yeah,
But I own it now. I mean, look, sometimes I feel like, it depends obviously on each situation, but me, I'm usually a morning person anyways. I get, I don't know, this is just like ya to costumbre, like this is a habit for me. Like I generally get like 7 hours of sleep on average anyways. That like it could vary between like 6 to 7 hours. So gun is fired somewhere. Oh, snap was playing right now. So either way, I want to wake up early so I could get the day over with, started early, and then like I can knock everything that I need to knock out early in the morning, and you know what I'm saying, to that later. It took precious. Yo, this video right here. But yeah, I feel y'all though. It's it could be annoying, especially if like you gotta wake up, use the restroom and all that, and then like your other family members is like invading the bathroom and all that. It's like can't have no peace.
Yeah.
So
what time do you get up to set up your computer outside and stuff?
I literally came out here at 8:59. It's like the way that the spot that I'm staying at set up, like I'm basically in the backyard already. Like all I gotta do is just step out, pull out the computer. The main thing is just like being right next to the outlet, because my computer for whatever reason doesn't last 3 hours. It's not connected. Yeah. I'm like, let me expose y'all to outside because I know it's a little bleak out in the city. But what I could do too, I could do one of these. Hold up. Y'all could do this too. Like if you don't want people to see your background, hold up.
I'm weak.
Aloha. In Honolulu.
I saw a video of a guy in a class. He was doing that thing every day, changing his background. It's hilarious.
This is dude, Ron Suno. I follow him on IG. On IG, he did this thing for what's it called? Hip Hop Harry, and like yo, I've been dying, like just crying. Like y'all ever seen Hip Hop Harry?
No.
I never seen Hip Hop Harry.
Yo, I mean, it was just funny because like you see this little white boy like trying to do the stanky leg or whatever, and like then he's like, yo, I'm weak, and then he just somehow he uploaded Hip Hop Harry to his Zoom background, and then he starts like, now saying dancing to like the Hip Hop Harry theme and beat, and like he's doing like some, I'm saying at the minimum PG-13 stuff, like PG-13 for today's era, but probably rated off for like back then. I'm gonna take this off. We're gonna give it like another minute or two. Right now, I'm just pulling up the different articles. Make sure y'all log in into Blackboard as well, so that way y'all can follow along with the stuff that I'm gonna go over today. So today we're gonna talk about Gunz. So originally, if we was to watch Boys in the Hood, obviously it would make more sense. But either way, like what we're gonna get into is like how gun tracing works, how oftentimes guns are stolen, and in more cases than you would think, they're taken out of police vehicles or out of police custody. You know what I'm saying? Or police lose them, leave them on top of their car, and forgot that they left it on top of their car, like stuff like that. basically like the science behind, like, you know what I'm saying, like if you're from a certain city, you probably have a certain percentage of getting away with shooting somebody. Um, in general, you have a higher percentage of getting away with it if the person didn't die, as opposed to if the person did die. And obviously that number just gets worse or that number gets solved more likely if you're a white victim as opposed to a victim of color. So, we're going to get into these types of things or whatever, but I just want people to have the chance to log in or whatnot. You could officially be like, yo, I had a professor, like, this dude had a chicken attend our classes, or a rooster. All right, so we're gonna get started. So real quick, who's been following the George Floyd case? Obviously, we just spoke about it yesterday, but there's been other developments that have come out since. But what have you guys been picking up on the case? Because one thing I like to do is talk about things that generally apply to criminal justice that we can talk about past, present, and future. But if there's current events that's obviously relevant, I like to talk about that too, because it kind of shows you and it allows you to kind of learn how to think about, what you want to do in the field while also focusing on the real life situation at its current state. So what are some takeaways that you guys are getting from this whole situation, news that you're finding out? Like talk to me.
I seen
the video that was released about the restaurant that shows that he wasn't even resisting arrest.
Right.
So, I mean, I would like to know more. I just saw the video and I didn't really follow on the case. I know they were fired, some of the cops, but I don't know if they're going to face, like, I don't know, murder charges or anything like that.
Right.
Then I seen like a picture of like his family, and they was like, justice isn't served, and just them getting locked up is not enough, or whatever. I don't know if that was just a personal caption somebody put on the picture, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean the family definitely is outspoken about what they think should happen to the officer. Excuse me. But the reality is that it's to the point where, like, you even have the mayor of Minneapolis coming out and saying that why is this man not in jail? Because his arguing point is that if somebody else would have did it, that's not a law enforcement individual. He even mentioned himself, which I doubt if he was to commit the murder, like, that he would get life in prison because he's a mayor. But he probably gets some time or whatever. But it's true, like, somebody regular, especially a person of color, if they was to do it, what I'm saying, like, it would end up being 25 to life most likely. And the way that he did it, like he did it with that conviction, like he knew he was being recorded. He stayed right at the camera. He had, little to no remorse, pretty much no remorse as far as I'm concerned. And, he it's going to be crude what I'm going to say, but like he felt like he was swinging it, Like he really was packing like some heavy, like a heavy pair or something like that. Like he felt like he was a man. But obviously it was some coward stuff on his side, Because if you look at other videos too, like, because the main video that everyone's seeing is from the front, you know what I'm saying, catching his face. But if you see the videos from the back end, from the opposite side of where the original video was shown from, like, you see that there's two other officers, you know what I'm saying, putting and applying pressure on his back. So it wasn't just the officer, Shavin or whatever his name is, that had his knee on his neck. You had two other officers that you couldn't see because the vehicle was blocking the view of them. They had they had their weight on his back as well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That obviously definitely is going to speed up the process of asphyxiation and losing respiration. And you know what I'm saying? Then the officer that the Asian officer that was just standing up and kind of spectating or whatever. Like, I read it that he actually had been involved in a case before, which due to his excessive use of force, there was a $25,000 settlement that was actually won because of his use of force or whatever. And the main officer that had his knee on Floyd's neck, like, that wasn't his first time being involved with violent incidences and involved in shootings at that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was involved in, and you know, I fell asleep before I finished reading, but up to the point that I read at, he was involved in at least two other shootings. One of them led to the death of somebody. You know what I'm saying? And like, there's always just some kind of background to people, you know what I'm saying? And the main thing is, like, he just also came out with his representation. Basically, he's going to hire the lawyer that represented the officer that shot Philando Castile. Y'all remember who Philando Castile is?
No, I don't remember that case.
He was a 32-year-old black man from Minneapolis as well. This happened like 2018, that he got shot and killed in his vehicle while his fiance was there. His fiance recorded him dying on live stream, and basically he had told the officer, when the officer pulled him over, that I have a gun in the vehicle, but it's licensed. And you know what I'm saying, as long as if you're registered, like, there's nothing wrong with it. As long as it's in the glove compartment and you have paperwork or whatever, it's perfectly legal. The officer, for whatever reason, panicked because most people keep their registration in the glove compartment. So if you're going to reach in there and then the officer sees a gun, you got to let him know, you know what I'm saying? And he got pulled over, and the officer, you know what I'm saying, started bugging out, shot and killed Philando Castile. His fiance literally went on Facebook Live and live streamed her fiance dying, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that was like one of the more recent situations that really, like, shocked the world, because like, you see him losing, you know what I'm saying, losing breath throughout the process. So the lawyer that represented that officer is representing this officer, the one that had the knee on Floyd's neck. I don't know about the other officers, what their representation situation is going to be, but everybody's focusing on the one officer, you know what I'm saying, who had the knee on his neck. So, you know, very, very unfortunate and tragic situation. There's mad riots breaking out, you know what I'm saying, not only in Minnesota, but like, I've seen riots in DC. At some point, there's going to be something in New York, you know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. And how do I put it? Yeah, that's kind of just like the coach of where policing is at right now, you know. Damn, I was gonna say something, I forgot. But yeah, anybody got any other kind of like input or comment in regards to like what's happening with that?
Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't know. I just feel like it's been so many cases like this, like the Trayvon Martin, the guy, and the what's the black guy name? I
Mike
forgot.
Brown.
Yeah, him. Like, it just been so many cases. I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, they overuse their power. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, the main thing is like
And I feel like they shouldn't get charged differently from anybody. That was a dumb. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even really like that remark that he made. Like, oh, if anybody else would have did, okay, if anybody else would have did it, they deserve the same thing too. Like, well, y'all did that intentionally. Y'all knew what y'all was doing. Like, you know,
that's a fact.
you in uniform, so people expect even more of you. You know what I'm saying? But it's still the same shit if you ask me. Like,
Right. I mean, we just went over yesterday, like how much taxpayers pay for police departments because, you know what I'm saying, like their salaries, their pensions, all that stuff, that's our money. You know what I'm saying? When you go to work, wherever you work, whether it's work study, if you work at Chipotle, whatever, you know what I'm saying, like all that money that gets taken out, like that's going, part of it is going to, you know, Social Security, this and that, but then, you know, say it's also funding police departments. And New York has, you know, I'm saying, the largest police department in the country, and they're at over $4 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like $4 billion. That's like Major League Baseball makes $10 billion a year, and that's Major League Baseball, which is a global sport. You know what I'm saying? And so we put so much money in this just so that we could get, you know what I'm saying, fucked up situations like this. And then the settlements be, you know what I'm saying, it be outrageous. Like we seen New York, like in the span of 5 years, like they spent close to $500 million, you know what I'm saying? And you're talking about at that time, like 2005 to like 2011, the price of the dollar isn't even the same from back then to now. You know what I'm saying? That's why they increased minimum wage, because it's like, we already know what time it is in regards to the economy. So really, if you want to compare it to like today's dollar, it's probably actually really $500. You know what I'm saying? So that's money that's coming out of taxpayer dollars. It's coming out of, you know what I'm saying, all the hard work and labor that you put in just to try and make it, you know what I'm saying, to wherever you try and make it. And it's like, at the very least, like if there's a rotten apple, like you got to throw it away completely. Like, nah, they want to keep it and put it in another basket so that, you know what I'm saying, other apples can rot. So, you know, this is why social media is important. This is why, if you get the opportunity to record something, you know what I'm saying, obviously exercise wisdom, you know what I'm saying, like don't put yourself in danger if you're not really about that life. But at the end of the day, like it's like you're tipping the cup too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I posted on my IG recently, like, you treat people like animals, the zoo gonna come out. And that's just the reality of things, you know? Like people at some point are gonna get tired of being oppressed, and, you know what I'm saying, like kind of what we talked about with the early history of policing. They come from slave patrol. So it's like, it's not even surprising when you see something like this, because the origin of it was patrolling black folk, you know what I'm saying? And obviously now it's like anybody that's just not white, predominantly like black and Hispanic, but that's kind of just what it is right now. Even people that like took my corrections course, like I took, like I already gave you like a background, like I worked in Rikers Island and stuff like that. Even the name Rikers Island, you know what I'm saying, Rikers Island, like, is named after the Riker family, which there was a judge, his name was Abraham Riken, who he used to, he basically used to expedite the process of free black folk basically getting kidnapped from up north and being sent down south, because bounty hunters used to come up from down south claiming that, oh, this person's a runaway slave, this and that. But the dude never was a slave a day in his life. The North at that point, they didn't have slavery anymore. New York didn't have slavery no more. Jersey didn't have slavery no more, you know. But basically, this judge used to expedite the process of, you know, affirming the bounty hunters' claims, and then he would get basically a kickback out of it. Like he would get a bribe from that. You know what I'm saying? So like this is literally who Rikers Island is named after. And it's like Rikers Island is predominantly Black and Hispanic. You know what I'm saying? Like in the time that I worked in Rikers, like I could count on my fingers how many white folk I've seen that are actually locked up in there. You know what I'm saying? And not just in Rikers, but in the other facilities as well. And I worked at 4 different facilities when I was in Rikers. So it's like that's kind of the nature of the beast right now. But you know, that's why it's important for us to learn about all this stuff, because before we could see the mountaintops, we got to see the valley lows type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I know it's cheesy or whatever, but like you have to see the roots of like what's causing all of this. Like y'all are gonna go into the field of criminal justice and y'all gonna be like, y'all gonna try to solve something and you don't even know what the issue is. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know what the root of the problem is, where the problem started, how it began, where it's coming from, this and that. Like, let me tell you, the majority of people that worked in Rikers Island, they don't even know that history. They don't even know, like you got correctional officers that like spent their entire career working in Rikers, you know what I'm saying, and retire and everything, and they never knew that that's who Rikers Island was named after. So it's like at the end, once you get into the field, you know what I'm saying, like, and you're educated about certain things, and you know certain things that you know a lot of other people don't know. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be a world changer out here. And you know, that's why I drop these gems. That's why I share this information, and I want y'all to get involved in the discussions, because it's an opportunity to like mentally prepare yourself before you go out there into what I consider the battlefield, because the criminal justice field is very difficult. You know what I'm saying? It's very difficult, very complex. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're thinking about being a police officer, like obviously you see it's not gonna get any easier. It's definitely not gonna get easier. And so you need to understand what's going on, so that way you could position yourself and not fight from a position of imbalance, but from a balanced position. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because the background is never going to change. Whether you or 10 generations later in this generation be a cop, the background's not going to change. And the people, the minority is most likely not going to change neither, because it's always Blacks and Hispanics. Like, it's never the white kids in the hood that's fucking up. No, they're going to college. They're doing what they need to do. Like, so the background never changed. I feel like it's how you work with it. Like, you know?
No, of course. But that's why you have to know the background, because it's like if I know that 9 times out of 10 going down this route is going to get me burned, then I need to probably figure out another way to go around this. You know what I'm saying? So I agree 100% with what you said. But that's where the background or the understanding of the background can now be applied into how you move and how you do things in the field. And I always encourage people too, like, explore different, like, go online and look at different career opportunities in criminal justice. Like, you don't have to only be a police officer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. It's a civil service test. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like trying to win the lotto a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's a way smaller pool of people than the actual Mega Million or whatever, the Powerball. But it's still kind of like a lotto. It's still a lottery that sometimes is not even, in a lot of cases, it's not even indicative of whether you're capable of doing the job or not. You know what I'm saying? Because clearly we know there's a lot of unqualified MFers that they're police officers. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're talking about, yeah, okay, let's scratch out the history real quick of like slave patrol, this and that. If we're talking about protecting and serving and blah, blah, whatever, we know that there's a lot of officers that are not qualified, and yet they still got the job. So, you know, sometimes it's the crapshoot, because it's about taking the test, and then it's about fitting a quota and a criteria, this and that. Where, like, if you get a degree, this is why I push education. My bad. Excuse me. I got a dog right next to me. I'm allergic to this joint. But if you got education, it's very difficult for somebody to turn you down on the basis of anything, because it's like you're already qualified. You know what I'm saying? Like your background, your educational status that could speak loudly on your behalf without you even having to say a word. You know what I'm saying? And especially if you're a person of color, like you want to be able to subtly flex on people. You want to be able to humble flex, where it's like you ain't really got to say much. Like you just tell them, oh, you know, I got a master's in this, so I went to this school and blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? And automatically it's like they have to take you serious. They have to, you know what I'm saying? Because you went to a respectable school. You went to, you know what I'm saying, you got a respectable amount of education. And at this point, your employment isn't based on, it's not based on like me being backed into a corner now. The job that I'm working is because I went out and got it. You know what I'm saying? I was the hunter. I wasn't the hunted type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times we play defense. Yeah, you got to play defense, but at some point you got to do offense too. You know what I'm saying? The way that I look at it, it's like boxing. You know, boxing is defense and offense at the same time. When you throw a punch, you know what I'm saying? Like you expose yourself at the same time. So you got to know, you know what I'm saying, how you going to deliver the punch. Like you're covering your chin at the same time you're throwing the punch. But, you know, that's another analogy for another day. So we're going to get to Gunz today. Have y'all watched the videos for today's lesson or not?
Honestly, no.
No, I didn't watch any video.
Okay.
I haven't watched it.
No, I thought we was gonna watch it in class.
All right, so I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it on my side. I'm not sure how well it'll show on your side though. Just let me know. I'm gonna share the screen right now. Second.
A gun is fired somewhere in your city. So what happens now? In the past, there was a slim chance the shooting would be reported to police.
Yeah, I see it. I hear it.
Yeah, y'all hear it clearly?
Yeah.
All right.
At all. Even when it was, it took precious time, and there was often confusion regarding the location of the shooting and other pertinent information. At least, that's how things were. ShotSpotter has changed all that. By utilizing advanced technology honed over 2 decades, we have automated the process. We monitor gunfire activity 24/7, so if a gun is fired in any area within ShotSpotter coverage, the system detects, locates, and immediately alerts police of the gunshot. So, how does it work? It starts with acoustic sensors that are placed on buildings or lampposts throughout a neighborhood. If a gun is fired anywhere in the area, multiple sensors detect and timestamp the sound. The precise location of the gunshot is determined based on the amount of time it takes for the sound of the gunshot to travel to each individual sensor, effectively triangulating the sound. The exact location of the detected gunshot is indicated by a dot on a map. Once an alert is generated, it is immediately sent to our IRC, or Incident Review Center, where trained acoustic experts then analyze each incident in mere seconds, determining if the sound is gunfire. ShotSpotter acoustic analysts receive extensive training on reviewing and classifying gunfire by distinguishing gunshots from other impulsive sounds that are not gunshots. In addition, they are trained to append additional contextual information, such as multiple shooter alerts or full automatic weapons alerts, that can prove to be essential tactical intelligence for law enforcement agencies responding to these crimes. The entire transaction takes place in less than 60 seconds. With the real-time ShotSpotter alerts, police can immediately be dispatched to the scene. Utilizing the gunfire audio clip and tactical information, officers can approach an exact location quickly and safely to engage the shooter, interview witnesses, and collect key evidence at the crime scene. ShotSpotter's Respond app enables patrol officers to receive real-time alerts quickly and effectively in their patrol car, on MDTs, or on the go on their smartphones. The ShotSpotter alert system is used in more than 90 cities and is an invaluable tool to help make communities safer by responding to gunshot incidents faster, making it easy to find evidence and reducing risk for police officers.
Have y'all ever heard of this before? ShotSpotter?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, unfortunately.
No.
I heard somebody say, yeah.
I heard of something similar to it, but I never knew like exactly what it was.
Yeah, I did.
Got you.
Only because there was a shooting when I used to live in the Heights, and so like that was around midnight, and they responded because of that. So like they knew the exact same spot where the shooting was at.
I mean, I thought the technology was possible. Like, this is the first time I see it. Like, yesterday when I read the, was the first time that I heard about it. But, like, actually existing. But I always imagined that there could be something like that. Like, that's like military equipment, I think, almost.
It's very militarized. And especially after the crime bill, you know, that Bill Clinton brought into effect, like that bill basically is what militarized the police the way that we know them now, where it's like they got all this body armor, they got high-tech weaponry and vehicles, you know what I'm saying? That's why like now a police force can feel like an army, like an actual army because of the crime bill. This is, of course, more recent technology. They've been using it from like really more around like the early 2010s. So it's basically like a camera that you got on the top of like buildings like that, but these can actually detect sound, you know what I'm saying? And like it basically, you know, like
yeah,
because I do rap, and like I engineer my own music and stuff like that. And like after a while, like long enough, you know what waves are what. Like when I look at my waves after I record myself rapping or whatever, I'm like, okay, this is the hook right here because of the way that, you know what I'm saying, it looks, you know what I'm saying? And then this is the verse. And then even when you get even closer into like when you zoom in on the waves, on the wave formats, you can see like little waves and then big waves right after, then little waves again. The little ones, I'm like, okay, those are the breaths right there. Like when I'm rapping, and then you take the inhales real quick, like like the little gasps of air that you take. I'm like, all right, that's that. It's the same thing that they do. Like they basically can identify, okay, is this wave audio format a gunshot or is it a hammer from construction? Is it you know what I'm saying, somebody popping, you know, the pop, the what is it, pop rocks or whatever, like, you know what I'm saying, what sound is this that, you know what I'm saying, is causing for our system to pick this up or whatever. And New York, of course, is always going to be one of the first cities to like get on board with one of these, you know, major kind of projects, because obviously this costs money. It's a lot of technology. This is like Homeland Security type shit. But you got major cities who got in on it, like Chicago got in on it, you know what I'm saying, and the major cities. I'm gonna share the screen again. So right here on the NYPD website, right here under technology and equipment, it kind of shows you the type of technology that they use. Right here on the very beginning, they talk about ShotSpotter, GPS and crime pattern recognition software. So right here, ShotSpotter. In March 2015, the department began employing ShotSpotter, a technology that pinpoints the sound of gunfire with real-time locations, even when no one calls 911 to report it. This technology triangulates where a shooting occurred and alerts police officers to the scene, letting them know relevant information, including the number of shots fired, if the shooter was moving at the time of the incident in the vehicle, and the direction of the shooter's movement. ShotSpotter enables a much faster response to the incident and the ability to assist victims gather evidence and solve crimes and apprehend suspects more quickly. So, you know, basically this is supposed to like speed up the process of you being able to like pick up a crime scene, you know. So you basically go over the dispatcher because, listen, there's so many instances where like when you call 911, the dispatcher is asking you for your name, your address, your social security. Like by the time it's said and done, somebody died. You know what I'm saying? And so this is basically a way of people being able to go past the dispatcher. And you know, if it's a gun related scenario, obviously it requires more urgency than if somebody's just like hopping the train or, you know, say stole a purse or something like that. You know, it deploys officers a lot quicker because officers have mobile phones now and they keep they have this app in their phone and stuff like that. So that's basically a little bit on Shot Spotter. I'm gonna share the screen again. You know, and obviously they have other technologies and stuff. Are y'all familiar with CompStat?
Yes.
Okay, what's CompStat?
That's like stats, like crime that's happened, and the police are supposed to like, you know, report, you know, like statistics on like what has happened, you know, crimes.
Exactly. So I just put CompStat in the search bar right here. You could click on that blue highlighted portion, and basically, this is CompStat right here. So it shows you the data on like different crimes that happen on a yearly basis, weekly, whatever number, however far back you want to go. Like it's going to give you the information on that, and it'll show you the breakdown on different offenses in different areas. You know, in different everything, you know what I'm saying? So the reason why I'm showing you all this is because policing has become smarter more now than ever, obviously. There's a lot of technology. Back in the day, it was just a dude with a baton. Maybe he had some paper in his pocket, you know, to hand out tickets or whatever. Now everything is high. The same way that the world has evolved and become high tech, so has policing. You know what I'm saying? Which it could be good if, you know what I'm saying, if they're doing their jobs the way that people expect them to. But then it could also be bad because it could be an abuse, right? Because one thing about the statistics that we see here is that we don't really know how many of these cases were actually false arrests, how many of these were wrongful arrests, unconstitutional arrests. Like those things, once an arrest is made, no distinction is made by the NYPD. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the NYU law school already did their research on this, and basically they found that the NYPD, like if they make an arrest, even if it ends up being dismissed in court or whatever, like they still count it as an arrest. It still gets counted as, you know what I'm saying, an offense or whatever, and they don't change those statistics because they want to keep their numbers, you know what I'm saying? And so there's technologies, for example, like similar to like Google Maps. Like I'm zooming in right now, but let's use Canarsie Cemetery as an example. Let's use the corner on 89th and Church, right? If CompStat tells me that on that corner around 3 o'clock on a daily basis, you know what I'm saying, there's a certain level of crime that happens or activity or whatever. Me as a police officer, I'm already gonna go in there with a certain mentality. Excuse me. I'm already gonna go in there with a certain mentality, and I'm not even gonna give whoever's there a fair shot to like explain themselves or to even prove their innocence, because especially if I'm already so like wound up, like I already amped myself up, I gassed myself up to say, yeah, yo, it's go time. Hey, you know, say whatever I got to tell myself to get ready for the possibility of something happening. I already got all that energy and testosterone in my body, where it's like, for me to have to disinflate all of that, a lot of police officers don't know how to do that, because especially if you're talking about police who, you know what I'm saying, who they got into policing before you needed either 60 credits, you know, 60 college credits to get in. They probably already bad, y'all. There's gonna be a continuous issue. So, you know, I gotta
Technology.
yeah, man. It's bad. But I'm gonna see if I could what I could do, man, with the Wi-Fi situation. I'm gonna share the screen again. My apologies for that. So what I was saying is, like, let's have the scenario that, let's say CompStat tells the NYPD that on 89th and Church around 3 p.m., generally speaking, there tends to be more activity around there than in other parts. As a police officer, you're going to go in there already amping yourself up, preparing yourself mentally, emotionally, all that for the possibility of getting physical with somebody. So when you get there and it's not even that serious, you already have all this adrenaline and pent up energy that a lot of officers, they don't know how to release in a constructive way, because they don't even have the proper way of thinking or training, or they don't have the same educational level as somebody that actually has 60 credits, especially if they came in before the 60 credit requirement. They're not going to work through the options like somebody that, let's say, has a level of college education or whatever. Which just having a college education doesn't guarantee you'll be a better officer, but it does in a lot of cases indicate that maybe you'll use critical thinking a little better, or you're not going to act on impulse or whatever. But what this ends up doing is, because CompStat, or mechanisms like CompStat record how often crime happens in like certain areas, police already go in with a certain mentality, and instead of reducing crime, sometimes you end up creating crime where there was none. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you expose that one area to more opportunity for people to have contact with police, which may or may not lead to somebody getting arrested. Where a suburb is probably not going to show up on CompStat as much, because it's like, oh no, these are low crime areas, this and that. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to stay lower crime if there's less police passing by it. You know what I'm saying? The less that police pass by a certain area, the less likely you're going to see, an increase in arrests and stuff like that in the area. So obviously stuff does happen anywhere, and, say it can happen anywhere, but there's also the case to be made that sometimes police create crime where there was none. You know what I'm saying? And this concept and this idea is actually called predictive policing, because you try to predict where crime is going to happen, but it's like, instead of predicting it, yeah, it comes true because you made it come true. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got any comments, any questions in regards to that? Nah, y'all Gucci? All
Yeah.
right. Cool. Bet. So I'm gonna wait. Hold up. I'm gonna reshare the screen. And we're gonna continue with the shot spotter thing. So here is kind of showing how shot spotter has worked in different areas. And this is straight off the shot spotter website. In Oakland, California, 66% reduction in shootings per square mile. Because of shot spotter, let's click on this right here. So right here is kind of showing you like the graph and like the reduction in gunfires, at least from 2012 to 2018. In Cincinnati, it's gone down. Well, yeah, it's gone down 48% in Avondale shootings. Chicago, Illinois, there's a 40% reduction in Englewood shootings. Las Vegas, Nevada, 26% reduction in violent crime during pilot. So a pilot is basically that's like a trial period. You know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of using it as a test period. It's not the real thing, but it's kind of like simulating what the real thing would look like before you actually start practicing it and going about it full-fledged. Sacramento, California, over 3,500 positive contacts with the community. So let's see what that means, because I don't know what that means. So I guess let's see. So yeah, they're kind of going over like the statistics on like arrests, gun seizures, positive contact with the community. It's still kind of vague, you know what I'm saying? It's not really telling telling much as to like what that means. And that's one thing about government, whether it be the mayor's office, whether it be the criminal justice system, you know, they're gonna paint the numbers in a way that always favors them, but they're not really gonna give too much explanation as to why the numbers are like that. Because if like for example, if there's like 10 people in a room and you know what I'm saying 10 people didn't like me, but then I do something and then one person out of those 10 ends up liking me, you know, because I did a favor for them. Like if I wanted to write a report, I could be like, you know, as a result of me doing X, Y, Z, 10% of the population now suddenly, you know, suddenly respects me or whatever. But literally it's only one person. You know what I'm saying? But 10% sounds better than one person. You get what I'm saying? And so it's similar like over here, even in Comstat, you know what I'm saying? Like murder from 2019 to 2020 on this week, on this date, at least the way that they put it percentage wise, it went up 200%. Now, if somebody was to tell you that, like, oh yeah, from last year, like on this day on this day last year compared to today, on this day today compared to last year, there's a 200% increase in murder in, you know what I'm saying, in the citywide region. Somebody would be like, God damn, son, we're gonna die, you know what I'm saying? But it's really just a 6-person difference. Obviously, every life counts in regards to like getting murdered or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? There's a big difference between saying 6 people got murdered and saying there's a 200% increase in murder. You know what I'm saying? And so oftentimes media and also the police department or whatever agencies, they my bad. I'm like in the middle of a sneeze and it doesn't want to come out. They wanna use numbers the way that it benefits them. So numbers don't lie, but people do. You know what I'm saying? So always keep that in mind. Now, if we talk about gun violence, obviously there's different forms of it. There's violence where, you know, somebody could just walk up to you and shoot you, unfortunately, just like what happened with Nipsey Hussle. You know what I'm saying? That just happened to him last year where like he was standing right in front of his store and he was helping somebody that just did 25 years in the feds. He was basically giving the person clothes, et cetera, et cetera. The way that I understand the story is that a dude that he actually knew and that he was cool with at one point, Nipsey called him a snitch, and in street terms, that's like the worst thing you could call somebody. You know what I'm saying? And so basically the dude felt the way, he came back, he shot the dude that, you know, Nipsey was there to help, but he actually survived that guy. But Nipsey obviously and unfortunately ended up getting killed. So obviously you could pull up on somebody, like you could just walk up to them and shoot them like from close range, but then you also have drive-by shootings. Now, the reason why we're going over like these different conversations related to guns is because a lot of times in the hood, this is what you hear about. You know what I'm saying? Like they like to label different things like black on black crime, or you know what I'm saying, drive-by shooting, whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? Even though you never hear the term white on white crime, but that's like a different conversation. But it's important to understand, like, if we're gonna talk about the criminal justice system and the urban community, yeah, we have to talk about it from a law enforcement perspective, and correctional perspective as well. But it's also important. To basically learn how the hood responds to things and how the community responds to things in general as well. Because if you plan on going into the field, like, you can't just be one-sided. You can't just know what's happening on your side. Like, you got to be able to understand the culture, even if the culture, unfortunately, has produced, you know what I'm saying, a lot of heartbreak in a lot of cases. I see okay. Oh, yeah, adding each other on WhatsApp, right? Gotcha.
Yes, Professor.
And y'all out here texting right under my nose. God damn. All right. I'm gonna share the screen right quick. Give me a second. I'm not sure what's. So there's different drive-by shooting cases, obviously and unfortunately. This document right here basically is just going over like several cases of drive-by shootings. This is from the Violence Policy Center. It's a national nonprofit educational organization that conducts research and public education on violence in America and provides information and analysis to policymakers, journalists, advocates, and the general public. So, you know, we're just going to go over a couple of cases of drive-by shootings. So November 19th, 2008 in Austin, Texas, nearly a dozen bullets penetrated a house, injuring an elderly woman taking a shower. Ella Gonzalez, 84, was inside the house when the shots were fired. One of the bullets hit her neck. The family did not know why the house or Ella Gonzalez was targeted. I could not believe, I didn't want to believe that something like that could happen to my mother, said the woman's son. So, you know, these is going to be tragic stories, but it's stuff that obviously a lot of us have heard about these kinds of situations. And, you know, it's not to, it's not to reinvigorate trauma or to reinvigorate like negative feelings and stuff like that, because I know, you know, there may be somebody that knows somebody close that this could have happened to or whatever, but this is stuff that we do have to talk about, because I want y'all to kind of get into a conversation or discussion as to like why you think this kind of stuff happens. 4 nabbed in drive-by slaying of 7-year-old girl. This was in Salt Lake City, Utah in 2008. 7-year-old Maria del Carmen Menchaca was playing outside her home on a sidewalk around 6:30 p.m. when she became the unintended victim of a fatal shot fired from a black SUV. Police said the shooting was gang-related and may have stemmed from threats reported in the neighborhood earlier that day. Said one neighbor, "You don't want to let your kids play outside. Bullets don't have eyes." So it's kind of like that. Like Nipsey said in Blue Laces, I think it was in Blue Laces. He said, "We used to say bullets got no names." Like that's basically like what they're trying to say. Like a bullet's not going to discriminate. Like wherever it goes, that's what it's going to go through. Bullet from drive-by shooting injures 5-month-old Minneapolis girl. And this was in 2008. A 5-month-old. I said 5-year-old. A 5-month-old girl sitting in her grandmother's lap was shot in the thigh by a stray bullet from a drive-by shooting between 2 cars near Powderhorn Park in Minneapolis around 8 p.m. This was a family enjoying the balmy evening in the park, and obviously the night was ruined, said police. Now this one is in St. Louis, 2008. Roshina Frenchie, a pregnant 18-year-old, was killed and her boyfriend was wounded in a drive-by shooting as they walked down a sidewalk around 11 p.m. Frenchie was 4 months pregnant, was shot in the chest and fatally wounded. Doctors were unsuccessful in saving the unborn child. Frenchie's boyfriend was wounded in the hand. The shooters were believed to have fired because of an earlier altercation with Frenchie's boyfriend. So I'm gonna take a pause right there. Well, actually, let me read this right here. During the study period, So they did like a state-by-state comparison on like shootings or whatever. During the study period, California led the nation in the number of reported drive-by shootings with 148 drive-by shootings, killing 40 and injuring 129. Following California with Texas with 60 drive-by shootings, killing 6 and injuring 52. Florida, 48 drive-by shootings, killing 10 and injuring 42. Illinois, 38 drive-by shootings, killing 18 and injuring 53. And Washington, 38 drive-by shootings, killing 3 and injuring 21. For a list of the top 10, you can basically see the chart right here. New York is at number 9. And yeah. So what's like your general thoughts in regards to this? Like, why do you think drive-by shootings, specifically, like not just shootings in general, but drive-by shootings, why do you think that's a thing?
I don't know. I think gangs, fighting over territory, drugs.
Okay, gangs fighting over territory, drugs. What else? Why do they choose to do drive-bys as opposed to walking up to somebody?
It's more easier to like escape.
Vehicle.
You said it's easier to what?
Escape.
To escape, right?
Faster.
And it's also how can I say it is also easier so no one knows who the person is shooting. Like
right.
Who's the one that's shooting.
Right. It conceals your identity better because it's like a fast food, right? Like you in and you out type stuff.
Yep. I know.
What else? What other reasons can you think of?
Think of why.
It also like protects you from, getting shot at. You be in the car, you're safe at a distance.
It protects you from getting shot at. It's safe. You're at a distance.
They probably get getaway vehicles, like they're stolen. They steal vehicles.
Yeah, they definitely jack vehicles. It don't make sense for you to do a shooting in your own vehicle when, like they could track your license and, track your license plate and stuff like that. But I like that point on like, you get protection by, it's harder to hit a faster moving target. And then at the same time, it's harder to get a clear shot at the person, especially if it's not a convertible. Like if it's like a pretty big vehicle and the windows is tinted, like you don't really know where you're shooting. You're like you're basically shooting blindly back at the person in the vehicle. So there's no guarantee that you even hit them or you're gonna hit them. What are some other reasons you could think of? Do you think fear has anything to do with it?
I think, yeah, like I guess now that you mentioned fear, like it's I guess for the person shooting, it's like more it's like cowardly, like not facing the person and hiding behind something. So pulling the trigger is there's much more of that disconnection between a human. Yep. So it's I guess easier. I don't know if easier is the right word, but you definitely like it's more cowardly.
Yeah. Now you definitely hit it right on the head, man. When you talk to a lot of like what you would call OGs, right? Like people that been doing this since like the 90s or even before that, like they don't respect a lot of the new school ways because they feel it doesn't embody manliness or like, being a man about your business or whatever. Like, because in a lot of these cases, of course, you wonder, like we just read of a case of a 5-month-old getting shot in the thigh. Like in what world is that okay? You know what I'm saying? Like what did a 5-month-old ever do to anybody? And so it's one of those things where, obviously it's kind of difficult for a lot of people to process arguing, wrong versus wrong. Because it's like, if you're shooting at somebody, people are still going to be like, yo, it's wrong. But it's like, there's still levels to it in the sense that if I'm going to commit my act of wrongdoing, like, there's boundaries too. You know what I'm saying? Like there's ways and there's protocol for me to do it so that I can still keep my dignity as I go out and do this act. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe, you know, there's cases where people can understand, yo, this person is doing this shooting because their sister got raped or because their daughter got raped or, you know what I'm saying, something of that nature. Like, a lot of people wouldn't even argue that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll be like, yo, shoot him, you know what I'm saying? But obviously you're still going to end up going to jail or, you know, doing life in prison if you kill the person or whatever. But it's like, if you're going to do it, a lot of people, you know, especially from like the old school way of thinking, they'll say like, yo, walk up to your person and just clip them right there, as opposed to like, you know, number one, you don't even have aim, because the proper way to shoot a gun in most cases, like what you see in the movies, like shooting with one hand or whatever, that's like trying to be Michael Jordan with a gun. You know what I'm saying? Like we never see police officers who, you know what I'm saying, who end up killing their victims, and it's only after several shots they kill their victims. They don't really shoot one-handedly, you know what I'm saying? Like, they end up getting on their knee or something of that nature, or, you know, they at least have both hands shooting at the person. You know, obviously the streets have a different way of thinking or whatever, but it's like you already don't have proper form, and then on top of that, you're moving people, so, you know what I'm saying? Like how you really curving the projectile. So it's a lot of things that go into it, but I just wanted to get into that because drive-by shootings is a unique thing. Obviously, we saw that in places where, you know, it's probably not walking distance to get to somebody. They have drive-by shootings more often as well. So, like, I'm gonna share the screen again. So in a place like California, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you ever been to Cali, you know you need a car. Like, it's very difficult for you to get around Cali, especially places like LA where, you know, drive-by shootings that's like a cultural thing too, you know what I'm saying? But like it's cultural by region, but the places that require for you to have a vehicle, like California, Texas, Florida, like Florida is big as hell. Like, you even here in Miami, like, you need a vehicle to get around comfortably. Where in New York, you could generally just hop on the train, or, you know what I'm saying, even if it takes like an hour, like, at least the trains are not that far from people, generally speaking. Illinois, Washington, you know what I'm saying, and then obviously New York's at the bottom, but it's mainly because of like the number of people that are in the city as well. If we talk about the shift in tactics, basically there's been a shift in tactics throughout the years. You know, it seems like people are starting to gain back this kind of mentality of, oh, I'm gonna just walk up to the person. And a lot of people think this might be because, like, they just really want to kind of get in your grill. They really want to make the statement. So if they do it from a distance, they're not really gonna leave that statement as if they was to walk up to somebody and do the act or whatever. Over here, what I want to go over is, y'all could read the title, right? Y'all able to see the title?
Yes.
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 All right. So basically, the larger the city, basically you have a better odds of getting away with the act or whatever. So basically, in this case, Deval Little, he's portrayed here on the left, making his way home from a cookout. Basically, the investigation. Hold on. A year-long investigation by the Trace and BuzzFeed obtained information from 22 cities. It found that cities from coast to coast, the odds that police will solve a shooting are pretty low, and they're dropping consistently. Homicides and assaults carried out with guns lead to arrests about half as often as when the same crimes are committed using other weapons or physical force. You know, and that could be for different reasons. Obviously, if like tracing a pistol is not easy, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it could have a serial, obviously it's going to have a serial number, but the person that just used it is clearly not going to be registered. You know what I'm saying? Like they most likely are not registered under that specific serial number. And it was something that they basically bought on the black market. Like it wasn't registered with the government or none of that. Like basically it was something that they just copped and now they're using it. And if they was to do a trace, somebody else's name would pop up, which would most likely be the original when victims survive. In part because those crimes tend to be assigned to detectives whose caseloads are exponentially higher compared to their colleagues in the homicide department. And the chances are even lower if the victims, like little, are people of color. If the person is black or Hispanic and they're fatally shot, the likelihood that the local detective will cast a culprit than when the victim is white. For gun assaults, the arrest rate is 21% if the victim is black, Hispanic versus 30. Basically, I'm going to go over this graph right here. All right. So it's showing statistics from 1980, 2010s. You can see that the numbers, hold on, non-firearm victims that are white, they have a better likelihood of having their cases closed than if you were a non-firearm victim and you were black and or Hispanic, right? And the difference is about, like, it's more than 10%, you know, but I guess it's not terrible, but obviously it's a drop off between the white community and the Hispanic and black community. Now we're talking about firearm victims that are white, even that's so white non-firearm victims. Why do you think that number drops off in regards to like the number of closure cases that there are related to guns?
I think because like the people don't report like shootings as much.
Okay. Okay. What other reasons you think?
There's more like more testimonials or whatnot.
Gotcha. What other reasons y'all think? I kind of mentioned
Can you state the question, please?
Why do you think that even, because when you compare even within the white community, firearm victims to non-firearm victims, even in the white community, that number drops. Why do you think that is?
Probably because of gang violence and stuff. You don't really see that in the white community happening as much as other minorities, I think. I don't know.
Okay, but potentially it could be something. One thing to think about is, because I mentioned it before, like for example, like departments have their homicide unit and then they have their everything else unit. You know what I'm saying? If you got shot and you survive that shooting, the homicide detectives don't deal with your case. It's the regular officers that deal with just everything else in general. So automatically that number drops just from that in itself. Then if you're a person of color, general are going to drop compared to somebody who's white, or in a firearm victim case is going to drop even more because, you know what I'm saying, racism exists. So like this mentality of just let them kill themselves, who needs them in this world, that's a reality too. You know what I'm saying? As we saw yesterday with like the Facebook group, you know, that the racist officers have had and stuff like that. And another thing too is like, they probably won't say it, but police officers are scared. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the only reason we see so many police brutality cases the way that we've been seeing them, because they generally have fear of black people or brown people or whatever. Like they fear for their lives, like, and you don't even have to do anything except be black or be brown or whatever, and they fear for their lives, like if somebody just put a bomb under their car or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So like, imagine you going into like the south side of Chicago, which they call Chicago Chirac because of the number of shootings that happen over there. Police don't go to that side of Chicago. Like they actually are afraid to go to that part of Chicago because they get busy. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of these cases, they're not going to get solved. And if you survive it, it's more likely that you're not going to get your case closed, because it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, it didn't fall into the homicide unit side of things. You continue to scroll down. Trying to find one of the graphs. And we continue to scroll down. So right here, and this is very relevant to what's happening with the George Floyd case, because real quick, is anybody familiar with the Freddie Gray case from Baltimore, Maryland?
Yeah.
Just give me a quick breakdown. What was the Freddie Gray case?
Wait, I just want to double check. Is it the one with the police officer had his knee on his neck and he couldn't breathe?
That's the recent one. That's the George Floyd case that just happened this week. Freddie Gray, that happened in 2015. So I'll give you a quick drop on it. Freddie Gray, he was a young black man. I think he was. Real quick, can you put yourself on mute? I hear like somebody going up a stair or something like that. I think he was 25 years old at the time, and basically he was apprehended by police, and it was police that were on bikes, right? Like they had like their police bikes, not motorcycles, but like actual bikes, cyclists, and basically they took Freddie Gray, and in putting him in the back of a police van, they actually fractured his spinal column. So you know he ended up being paralyzed from the waist down. He couldn't move. If you see the videos, like they're actually dragging him to the van, like his legs are limp, like they're like noodles. And basically he ended up dying from the injuries. When that Freddie Gray situation happened, you're talking about, you know, look at the statistics from 2013, so just a little before the Freddie Gray situation, and then after it happened, going into 2016, fatal shootings and non-fatal shootings were already at a pretty bad closure rate, right? If you're talking about fatal shootings, they had a little better closure rate because it's like, generally speaking, people want to feel like murders get solved more often than other cases. Real quick, could you just put yourselves on mute so that way like there's not like other feedback or other noises in the background?
Sorry, Professor, I wrote you in the chat. Can you check the chat real quick?
Hold up. Give me a second. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care.
You too.
So in the case of Freddie Gray, they basically took him, put him in the back of a police vehicle, and his back got fractured. The years leading up to that event, the closure rate for fatal shootings and for non-fatal shootings were pretty steady, even though it's pretty low, right? 51% for figuring out fatal shootings in Baltimore specifically. That's not really good. That's a coin flip. It's 50-50. Like, oh, if somebody died today, it's a 50-50 chance that we could find the killer. That's not very reinforcing, right? Like nobody's going to be excited about hearing that. And then even less if you didn't die from the injuries. Now, when Freddie Gray's situation had happened, it made everything a lot more difficult because similar to how we're seeing with George Floyd. Yo, it's crazy. Hold on, give me a second. I'm about to hop over this fence and slap this dude off. Similar to what we saw with the George Floyd case, you have a whole city kind of just like kind of falling over and crumbling apart, right? Like you got riots, you got a bunch of stuff that's happening. The same exact thing happened in Baltimore with Freddie Gray's case. Like everybody started rioting, everybody started protesting, and et cetera, et cetera. And what that ended up doing is the police that were focusing on solving these cases, they had to basically be moved to control riots and protests and stuff like that. And that's what made the numbers drop even further. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about they dropped by almost half. And those numbers were already not even good to begin with. But after these riots and protests, basically those numbers just continue to drop off even more significantly. You know what I'm saying? This is how the Von Little ended up looking like after being shot, unfortunately. In the case where, because there's a map somewhere here. I'm just trying to find it for y'all. In the case of the shooter of the Von Little, you know what I'm saying? And because of the lack of closure that the shooter for the Von Little was able to, the shooter of the Von Little was able to commit other crimes and other acts as a result. And so ultimately what I'm trying to put out there for y'all is that it becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult to solve cases, especially if somebody's a repeat offender. It's like, of course you want them behind bars, but it's like the minority community doesn't get the attention they deserve. And then on top of that, it's already a low closure rate to figure out who's doing the shooting, who's doing the killing, et cetera, et cetera. And then it was talking about gun traces and stuff like that. Let me close these out. So this thing, basically you're talking about, this the wallet. My bad, I had to tell him to pause real quick. Basically you're talking about over the past decade, the number of gun traces requested by law enforcement has exploded. The ATF processed more than 300,000 trace requests in fiscal year 2015, or more than 1,000 a day. So basically that's the number of gun traces that are put in on a daily basis. That represents an increase of more than 350% from 1995 when the agency processed fewer than 80,000 requests. So you're talking about the ATF is an agency that's located in Martin's. Gun trace is being requested in regards to like, oh, we found a pistol at the scene. Like, can you trace this gun? It would always go to that one place, ATF in what's it called? In West Virginia. Now, the thing is, this is the only place in the country that really does gun traces. So like, if you're a police department all the way in California or in New York or wherever, like your gun trace request goes all the way to West Virginia. And just imagine how long it takes for it to get there, that request, and then how long it's going to take for them to get back to you. Could y'all see this right here, this image?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so you're talking about, this is the document and the paperwork in regards to the gun trace request. So when you get the request or whatever, right here you see the serial number is highlighted right there. The gun information, it's a Taurus, the model, caliber, and what country it was manufactured, and basically here's the purchaser information. So this may not be the information of the most recent user of it. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody committed a crime, this is most likely not the information. This is probably the information of the person who first bought the gun legally, you know what I'm saying? And then their information, and then basically the gun probably got sold off them, you know, in the black market, or it got stolen from them, you know what I'm saying? And so that's basically what this information is. And then here it talks about the recovery information, right? Where they found a gun, et cetera, et cetera. But we can see here, it says time to crime has been 164 days from the time of the crime. That's a pretty long time by the time that you put in a gun trace request form, right? So it's like by the time that you put in this request, you know what I'm saying, and for whatever reason it took that long, you're talking about whoever committed the crime might be out committing another crime. And so these are things to consider in regards to the criminal justice system in the urban community. You have a lot of cases where, you know, these individuals that use guns may have stolen it out of a police vehicle. Private sales have been particularly troublesome in Chicago, where police solved only about a quarter of its 479 murders last year, a clearance rate much lower than other large cities, right? So it becomes very difficult for police to find who did what, because number one, they're afraid to go into these communities, and then number two, it's just a very difficult thing for them. And then last thing, dealers who go out of business must submit all their records to the ATF, and this happens so often that about 1.6 million documents and other records flood the agency's offices every month. So sometimes gun dealerships, when they go out of office, you know, say like when they because you know it's a business at the end of the day. Gun stores sometimes they might just be on some effort. You know what I'm saying? I'm just selling off these guns. I'm not really doing, you know what I'm saying, the proper background checks the way that I'm supposed to. Or if they do it, it's like by the time that they close, it's like the ATF can't even check back with them to see if, you know what I'm saying, if the information is still valid or whatever. And then this is the last one we're going to go over. Investigators were scouring the scene of a 2015 shooting in Southwest Baltimore, where they found a blood-covered Glock pistol on the ground behind a row house. A ballistics analysis determined the gun had been used in the attack, which killed a 23-year-old man and injured a 93-year-old woman whose head was grazed by a stray bullet. The Glock was a big break for investigators in the case, but a check of his serial number led to a chilling revelation. The gun belonged to one of their own. 2 months earlier, a Baltimore police officer had reported the pistol stolen from his car. All right, so unfortunately, that's a reality of law enforcement where it's like yeah, guns get lost and they get stolen and stuff like that. In this week's case with the Minneapolis riots and all that stuff, like there was breaking vehicles, there was, you know what I'm saying, destroying police cars and stuff like that. And there were guns in some of the vehicles, you know what I'm saying? Whether people stole them or not, it hasn't been reported, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. You know what I'm saying? A lot of cases, police lose their guns simply because they forgot it or because somebody went into the vehicle, they saw him putting the gun in the trunk, whatever it was, and then they ended up breaking into the vehicle and, you know what I'm saying, doing whatever it is that they decided they wanted to do with it. Such thefts are not uncommon. The Trace examined records from more than 100 law enforcement agencies and found that they had collectively reported the loss or theft of at least 1,781 guns between 2008 and 2017. So you have almost 2,000 guns that are either lost or missing or stolen that originally belonged to law enforcement. Now, you're not even talking about just regular civilians. You're talking about only law enforcement, almost 2,000 guns between 2008 and 2017. You could argue that one gun is already enough. You know what I'm saying? But you got almost 2,000. That's OD right there. The Traces investigation drew on thousands of pages of police reports, internal memos, inventory logs, and policy manuals from local and state police law enforcement in 29 states, as well as 2 federal agencies, basically ICE and the DEA. All right. So nearly all of the lost and stolen enforcement guns included in the Trace tally were department owned or issued or had been qualified by officers for use on duty. A handful were officer personal guns. The records indicate that at least 239 guns were eventually located. So some of these guns do end up being found back, but then you have other cases where it kind of gets messy, kind of like this. About two dozen of the firearms surfaced in connection to the other crimes. The Trace had found an AR-15 rifle snatched from an Illinois officer's trunk, turned up 1 year later in a domestic violence incident in Chicago, where a gang member fighting with his girlfriend about dinner threatened to kill her with the weapon. 40 caliber Glock handgun taken from the Florida Sheriff's Department was involved in a 2015 gang-related shootout that killed a 29-year-old man. In another case, a handgun plucked out of a Maryland police sergeant's bedroom is believed to have been used to murder a 48-year-old nurse the next year. So obviously, you pretty much get the point. Gun violence is a thing. If you're trying to figure out like, yo, how do these dudes or how do these individuals get access to these guns? Obviously, there's people that got connects, there's people that got plugs, but in a lot of cases, you have stolen guns. You know what I'm saying? I've seen videos where people have actually robbed gun stores. You know what I'm saying? And then they take the guns and then they sell them back for obviously a cheaper rate or whatever. and it's just that's kind of just how it goes. So I'm gonna open it up for discussion. That's pretty much it for the lesson for today. But I kind of just want to get some feedback or some thoughts as to what y'all think or understand as to like what we talked about. Ya casi termino en como 10 minutos. Yeah. All right. I was saying, like, based off of what we talked about today, like, what are some things that you guys could take away from the general class that we just spoke about? Let me try to move this somewhere else.
Like,
what were some takeaways that you could get from like the whole, you know what I'm saying, gun violence and then kind of like gun traces and all that stuff? Like, what are some general takeaways for y'all?
With this recent case, the abuse of police, what's this guy's name?
George Floyd.
Yes. With that, it's just like you mentioned earlier as well that you feel like people don't know their history, or like we see this repeat of like, you know, abuse of power, you know.
Yeah.
And it seems like it wouldn't be so much of a problem. It would, like, if people knew their history, like if people were able to make that connection.
Yeah.
Like, see how history is still deeply rooted, that story is deeply rooted in our like system. Like if people were to see that, it's be able to like mentality of guardian, instead of coming with that with something other than being educated. They're blind to see what has happened before, and it's amazing that it still continues.
Right. Anyone else? Well, what's some of the input you can add into what we spoke about or what we discussed today?
I was going to say earlier that, I was going to say earlier that the things that cops do today, anyone in the criminal justice system, it reflects badly kind of on future cops and future lawyers, future anything, because they're going to think of them as, oh, they're going to do the same thing as done before. Like with the George Floyd case, how would somebody taking a criminal justice class now think that people would look at them if they want to be a cop, but then think they're going to do that to them also? Even if they're a person of color and say, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a fact. And it's like, you got to give respect to get it, and at the end of the day, there is a sense of entitlement because you have this quote unquote blue code of protection, like where it's like police and law enforcement in general, they're protected, in ways that regular civilians wouldn't be protected or other employees wouldn't be protected. Well, what are some other thoughts or feedback you could give? Like what do you think about just like the guns that are used in like drive-bys or in gang-related shootings? Like, what do you think about a lot of them being originally police officer pistols to even begin with?
Yeah, I feel like they're not like I feel like there's not, well, I don't know if there's it's the punishment, you know. Maybe they just get a slap in the wrist, you know. But they should take that more seriously. Like, I didn't know until recently that they lose their guns, like you said, like just like human mistakes, like, you know, like any other humans, you leave your, you know, coffee on top of the car, you know. So we have to think about, like, you know, just human mistake. I don't think they do it maliciously, but they should have responsibility, you know. Maybe to that lack of taking their job more seriously. But you know, you also got to understand that, like, I guess errors are gonna happen, and I mean, yeah, I don't think they do it maliciously.
Mel, what are you talking about? What don't you think is being maliciously?
Losing their firearms. I think, you know, they don't do it on purpose. You know, I've heard them be irresponsible. Like, I heard like cases where they like leave them in bars, you know, because they're drunk, so they just leave them. So I'm like, that's kind of bad. Like, you can't be walking with a gun drunk, leaving it.
Interesting.
That's irresponsible.
If
That's
the
reckless.
punishment was
My thing
greater,
is, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if the punishment was greater for them losing their guns, then they would be more careful about it. Because if you know you're gonna like get not fired but like suspended for a long period of time for losing your gun, you'll be more careful about not leaving it visible in your car or leaving it in a bar or anything like that.
Wait, so then let's say a cop is chasing a suspect down and somehow his gun falls off his band, off his waist, like his holster, and somebody else picks it up and then the gun is no longer found. Like, what's gonna happen to him? Will he get punished or no?
Well, that's the thing. Like, there's, to my knowledge, there's not really punishment because, you know what I'm saying? Like if you could get protected from actually using your gun and killing somebody, then losing your gun's probably not going to lead to like you getting fired or anything of that nature. I'm assuming if it happens, obviously more than one time, like at that point, it's like, yo, dude, like you're losing guns. Like, it's not even, you're not talking about losing what's it called, like your state ID or something like that. But to my knowledge, it's not really a punishment that goes accompanied with it. It's just more, you know, like the moral humiliation of it. Like, some of these guns are used in actual crimes. Like, we just kind of read of cases where like people actually get murdered or they actually get shot, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, a dude had an AR-15 and he threatened his girlfriend with it. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, a AR-15 is like, that's some joint you use in the military. So at the end, it just creates an image of like irresponsibility on the side of law enforcement, because it's like something so basic as like just keeping your gun in a safe place. Like, yeah, like if you're running after somebody and your gun falls out your holster, like, that's a one-off. You know what I'm saying? That's not really something you expect to happen because you got a clip around your holster and all that stuff. But let's say it does happen. All right, it's not going to happen, I wouldn't think, almost 2,000 times in a year. Or almost, not in a year, but almost 2,000 times in the span of a couple of years. Like a lot of these cases that police leave them in the bathroom, or as Mel mentioned, they leave them in a bar or on top of their vehicle, or they're in the vehicle clearly visible for somebody to just break in the car or something like that. So that kind of is what makes the dynamic difficult to look at. So we gonna end class right here. There's too much background noise on mine. I'm about to I'm about to shoot the fade with somebody over here because I'm not liking this. But hopefully you guys were able to learn something in the midst of the noise. I'm gonna try and, you know what I'm saying, see how I can organize so that there's not so much noise happening around or whatever. But if you got any questions, feel free to hit me through IG. Feel free to email me. You know what I'm saying? And we don't got class tomorrow, so if anything, I'm gonna catch you on Monday.
All right.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, it was good.
When are you gonna post the recordings on Blackboard?
When am I going to post a what?
The recordings of the class on Blackboard.
Oh, my bad. Could you repeat that last part?
When are you gonna post the recordings of the class on Blackboard?
I'm gonna start doing that today. So I already recorded the last 2 classes. I'm gonna post them up today so that y'all could go back and look back at the classes, and then basically you'll have the opportunity to review what we talked about. Obviously, the quality might be a little distorted because the Zoom sessions kept kicking in and out or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? Got to work with what we got at the moment. But I'll start posting them up today. I already uploaded the first 2 on YouTube. I just got to put them on the Blackboard so that way you can have access to it.
Is there any assignments that are due?
The assignments, if you go underneath Blackboard and you look at the weeks, let me see. I'm gonna show you. So if you go on the Blackboard, I'm gonna look at it from the student perspective, from the student view. If you go on the course materials, you go to week 1. You know what I'm saying? Like you could already start doing the assignments or whatever. Basically, try to do the intros by the end of this weekend. All you got to do is go to the discussion board on the left and just introduce yourself and respond to at least a couple of people. But all the assignments, like all you got to do is just click underneath the topics where it says assignment, and then basically that'll be what you're going to do for your homework. But you only have to do the assignments that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, because by the end of the semester, I only need 10 reflections. You don't have to do every single reflection. You only need to do 10. So whichever 10 you want to do, if you want to wait a week from now, 2 weeks from now, and then start doing them, you could do that. I'm not going to be clocking you. But what I do recommend is that you start getting on the reflections as soon as you can, so that way you can start working on your final paper like by like week 2, week 3, around there.
Also, I have another question. I remember you emailed us about introducing ourselves on Blackboard. It's not too late to do that, right?
Yeah, I would still like for y'all to introduce yourself. So basically, just go underneath the discussion board, and basically there's already a thread that says intro, and then you just click on there, you introduce yourself, and then you kind of respond to other people's introductions as well. You heard? My apologies. But yeah, basically introduce yourself on Blackboard, go underneath discussion board, create a thread underneath intros, and then also respond to other people and their introductions, and then basically that'll, I'm saying, you get points for that, for your for the grade. I don't want to hold you much longer because obviously the signal keeps going in and out. If you got any questions, send me an email. Hit me up through IG, abstract_Cabrera. And I'm going to catch you on Monday. So enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. And definitely good chopping it up with y'all. It's a good first week. Or as good as possible, under the circumstances.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Professor. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
So thank y'all. Have a great one.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.